Hi, good morning, guys, and welcome once again to today's class. And in today's class, we'll be going into JavaScript, which is adding functionalities to your web page. And all websites are static until you add some functionalities to it, such as a click event. What are functionalities you can add to your JavaScript? They include click events. They include toggle, they include communicating with APIs, and also doing some manipulations, anything functional on your website. Though there are some functionalities you can do with CSS, but it's actually best that you do all your functionalities with JavaScript. So that's what we'll be looking into going forward to the end of the bootcamp. We are now towards the end of the bootcamp, where we'll be talking about JavaScript and everything JavaScript entails. So from now to the end of the bootcamp, we'll be talking about JavaScript and going day by day, we'll be going in depth into JavaScript. So today will just be introduction into JavaScript and some of the basic components. In the next class, we'll be doing DOM manipulation. That's how you can interact with the browser from JavaScript. And yeah, so let me not bore you with those stories and let's get started into it. So what is JavaScript overview? JavaScript is a scripting or programming language that allows you to implement complex features on a web page. Every time a web page does more than just sitting there and displaying static information for you to look at. Displaying timely content, updating interactive map, and also that's what I said. Everything you need to do, scrolling, uploading, interacting with data, everything are done through JavaScript. And so I think I duplicated that. So what can JavaScript do? Some popular framework include JavaScript can change text content. So that's what basically JavaScript does. You can use to change content on your website. You can change style. You can change hide and show elements. Though you can do that with CSS, but it's also good that you do it with you can do it with CSS, but it's actually good that you do it with JavaScript. And all of these are, and one thing I need you to know is that JavaScript and Java are two different things entirely. Java is on its own, is a programming language on its own, while Java is a programming language on its own, while JavaScript is a different programming language on its own. So I don't want you to get confused that is Java and JavaScript the same thing. Just a bit of story into why both Java and JavaScript are using the word Java. When JavaScript was first introduced, it was called ECMAScript. And at that time, it was Java that was reigning. So most people made use of Java so that they could quickly upsell the language so that they can draw people to it. That's why they made it, that's why they called it JavaScript, basically. So aside that, JavaScript is doing something different from Java. So, and that's a little bit introduction into JavaScript. There's no need us doing the theoretical aspects of JavaScript, and we can actually just go into the practical aspects. And so what are some of the things you would be doing with JavaScript? Some of the things you'll be doing with JavaScript include you having to communicate with APIs, you having to change your DOM, you having to change some things on your screen, such as when you try to log in, you want to navigate from one page to another. Though you have the page on your HTML, but you have to do it that once it's successful, once there's the details gotten from your backend, you have to navigate it to another page. So those are the things that are done with JavaScript. It makes you communicate directly with other pages on your screen. So how do you link your JavaScript with your HTML file? So in this class, as you all know, we have implemented this design before now, so we will not be working on the design. So we'll basically be focusing more on the console. So how do you work with your console? You just come to you right click and you click on inspect, and everything you need every JavaScript will be writing will be displaying directly in the console, because there is no how, for now, we don't have a way of interacting directly with our browser. And one thing I want you to know is JavaScript actually runs synchronously. That means JavaScript actually runs line by line. If there is an error in line 4, line 5 will definitely not run. That is one thing I want you to know about JavaScript. And some other programming languages are actually similar to that. So one question is HTML a programming language or not? I need response. Is
No, sir.
HTML why do you say HTML is not a programming language? Do you know I can argue that HTML is a programming language?
It's a markup language.
What? But I can write HTML in JavaScript. Does that make it a programming language? Uh,
Sir, can you repeat? I don't understand.
I said I can write HTML in JavaScript. Does that make it a programming language?
No, but it's still markup.
Okay, yeah, that's actually it. HTML is not a programming language. I know there are some over time some people have actually argued that without HTML there can't be any JavaScript because you still have to see the visualization, and that some people argue. I think I've read an argument somewhere that they said it's a structural programming language that since it's the base of every website in every web or web application, because even if you get into React, the entry point of your website, everything is still going to be linked to an index.html page. So some people have argued, I've read it somewhere, that HTML is actually a structural programming language. I don't know where they got their own theory from, but to me, HTML is not a programming language. It is simply a markup language. So that's what we have right here, a markup language, and everything we'll just be doing it inside our console. So how do you link your HTML with your CSS file? With your how do you link your HTML with your JavaScript file? So I'm going to close this and just open our index. Okay, I have a folder here called script, and I'm going to have our first script.js. So and let's now link it directly with our HTML. So you can either link your HTML at the where you have your style at your edge session, or you have to use a keyword called defer. And what that keyword of defer simply means is that don't load my JavaScript first. I know you might see it in some places. Don't load my JavaScript file. Load every other thing on my page. Then after every other thing has finished loading, then you can come to my JavaScript file. You can now load my JavaScript file. But instead of you having to think about that, you'll be doing something like this, which is going to be this script. Then you have your src, you have dot slash script slash, you would have defer. So you have a defer keyword just like this. But sometimes you might be carried away that, you might forget. And if some of the data you are going to be working with in your HTML are not readily available at that point, your website is not going to load. So that's why it's actually, I think it was just recently, some 2 years ago, when I was doing some other in-depth learning, I heard about the defer keyword. But right before then, I've actually been doing something. I've actually just been writing it at the bottom part of my HTML, which is right here, script. I'm going to have the src, and I have my dot slash script slash. I close this, and this is still going to work the same way. So I'm just going to remove the script tag I have up here because I don't get confused. So it's just like a good practice. It's just like a standard practice that you have your script tag at the bottom of your HTML. So after every other thing has loaded, before the closing tag of your body element, you have your JavaScript tag there. And that is that. So how do we know that our JavaScript tag is actually working? So I'm just going to use an inbuilt window function, which is called alert. And I'm going to do this. Hello world. And let's save and see. So automatically our JavaScript is automatically connected. So that's simply what we just did. And if we save this all over again, we'll see that it's totally working fine. So we have actually linked our JavaScript file with our HTML file, and we are good to go. So let's continue back in our slide. And so what are the things you do in JavaScript? What are variables in JavaScript? How do you store data in JavaScript? Ways of you storing data in JavaScript include what are variables? You store JavaScript data, you store them. What are variables in JavaScript? A JavaScript variable is simply a name used in storing data, and there are two forms of variables in JavaScript, which is one, the local variable and the global variable. Global variable are variables that are accessible across board, which is I think you understand. I'm just pointing this out. You understand that more in when we are writing functions, when we get into functions and we are doing some kind of functions rendering, you understand the difference between global and local variables. I'm just putting it out there. And also one thing I want you to know is that JavaScript is actually case sensitive. You can't write something as this. Let me do this. You can't write const name equals Allen, and you now come and do console.log name. Once we save this, we are going to get an error in our console, which is uncaught error, name is undefined. So name is actually, there is case sensitivity in JavaScript. And one thing I want you to know is that there are three ways of you writing you declaring your variable in JavaScript. And one is the lowercase, you just writing the lowercase, which is what we have up here. This is lowercase. Let me just scribe this out. Lowercase. We have const first name. This is camel case. Allen. This is camel case. Camel case. This is const first name. Allen. This is Pascal case. Yeah, so this is Pascal case. And you can also do this. You can also do const underscore first name equals Allen. So I can't remember what this is called, but these are but just know that you can't start a variable with either this. You can't start a variable with a number. You can't start a variable with a number. You can either start it with a symbol underscore. That's what you can start your variable with. You can't start it with a number. Just have that at the back of your mind. So let's continue. I hope you understand what I am doing here. And there are two ways of which you can declare a variable. One is a const and one is a let, which is this const and let and const, which you can see I've used the const above. And what are the difference between the let and the const? The let is variables which you can mutate. There's something in JavaScript called mutation. So with JavaScript, you having a let variable, it simply means that you can mutate those variables in the sense that you can change the assigned value. And let's try that. So we have const, let's have surname equals, someone should give me their surname right there. I'm going to have, okay, I'm going to have this. I've seen one surname. Did I get it? Did I get it? Okay, let me just copy Joshua's one. So I've copied Joshua's surname. So I have done this, and for a let, if I do a console.log to read data that we have written in our HTML, you just do something called console.log, and you can see there are also different types of console.log. So I have surname. We save this. You can see we have Olagunju. So we can now reassign that surname. We can just say surname equals, who can I reassign the surname to? I'm going to reassign it to Adedeji. I'm going to reassign the surname to Adedeji. Sorry, Helen. Is Helen your surname or your first name? Is Elon Chuku not your surname? Is Helen your surname? Wow. Helen is your surname. I was actually thinking Elon Chuku was your surname actually. Oh, okay. Thanks for the correction. Wow. So George, your name is Adedeji, but your surname is George. Wow. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So I'm going to reassign the surname to Allen. So let me reassign the surname to Allen equals Allen. And if we do a console.log right here, surname, let's comment out what we have on line 8. Once we do this, you can see that, oh, let me comment out the first one we have right here. So let me comment out this name. So you can see that we have surname of Harlan. So what that simply means is that if you are using let variable, the let keyword, you can actually redefine it. You can actually change it at any point in time. You can change the value assigned to that variable name, but with const is actually immutable. That's what they call it. Const variable are actually immutable. So once you have this, so the way we have name, and I come right here and I do name equals let me use George. I use George. I would get an error in our console when I do console.log name here, console.log name. And you also see the reason why I made mention earlier saying that JavaScript is actually synchronous. That means it reads every code line by line. And if there is an error in line 1, the next line is not going to run. So let's check that out. So you can see that I have an uncut error. It said assignment to a const variable because name is assigned is a const, basically. Name is a const and you can't reassign const. It is always, if you say const is 2, anywhere in your code, your const has to be 2. And when you're building an application, some of the variables you use a const for is actually like a person's date of birth. In the sense that once I tell you that I was born in 2000, there is no how I can change my date of birth any longer. There is no how I can change my date of birth by because it's always constant. Even if after 10 years, you ask me what my date of birth is, I tell you my date of birth is year 2000. Did I just leak out my date of birth? You would just, my date of birth is year 2000. So that's how it is done. Joshua, I don't know what you are saying. I don't know what you are saying. So that's that for const and the let variable. And if you are probably working on older code base, you'll probably see something called like VAR, but VAR is not something widely used any longer, but it's still in code bases. But let me just use Joker. So I've not used var. I can say since I started writing programming language, since I started writing code, I have not used the var keyword. I have not used it at all. What I've basically been using is the const and the let keyword, which is what you use over and over and over again. So let's continue. Let's go back to our slide and let's pick from there. So the next thing we'll be looking at is how to declare a variable. We have the const, we have the let, we have the var. So as I made mention previously, let are used to declare variable which could be changed later in the program. Const are used to declare variable which are constant and cannot be changed. Const variable are immutable and also can be left empty. So when it says const variable can't be left empty, so we have something like this. We have const class. We now have something like this. You can't have an empty const variable. So, and one thing you can see here is there are some specific keyword in JavaScript that you can use. So class now is a specific keyword in JavaScript. That is why it is flagging it. You can see that it's giving me an option that I put an underscore before it, or I write something else before it. But me just writing class, I can't use that. There are some specific keyword in JavaScript that you can't use. Keywords like key, you can't use things like this key. I think you can use key. There are some I can't remember off my head at this point, but as you can see, it's telling me class, it's giving me an indentation of what I need to do with that. So that's why you can't use some specific keywords. So you don't need to know those keywords, but by the time you type them out, you would see them. You would see them. So let's continue. So I have class and I do a console.log of class. Let me comment this out here. And also name is a reserved keyword, not they are called reserved keyword basically. So name is a reserved keyword and class is also a reserved keyword in JavaScript that you can make use of. So let me do console.log underscore class. Let's save this and see what we have. It should throw an error. You can see it's giving us an empty string, but normally, according to the rules, you can't have an empty const. Your const has to have a variable. So when I was mentioning var are older ways of declaring variables before ES6 and ES 2015. So that's what I was saying, that if you are working on a legacy code base, such as code base that were written in probably 2001, and the company you're probably working for, have decided not to upgrade their system, then you can now see code bases such as var in your code. But if they have actually upgraded, you would not see anything relating to var in your code. So let's now go into data type in JavaScript. There are 7 kinds of data type in JavaScript, which are the primitive. There is the primitive data type, and there is the object data type. Primitive data type. There are 2 types of data value in JavaScript, which are object and primitive data type. The object, what an object is in JavaScript is that they can hold different kind of data variables, which is when you say an object, let me just use the example we have right here. We have let me equals, so I'm just going to have name, Sunday. I'm going to have age, 22. I'm going to have profession, job. Let me just write job, solution engineer. No, it has to be a string. Solution engineer. State Lagos. So we have to put a comma right here. So and then when we do a console.log, we have me, console.log of me. We would see, we would console.log all the data that we have assigned to our me variable. So you can see there are two kind of data structures in data type in JavaScript, which is the object and the primitive data type. So what are the primitive data type? So the primitive data type includes, divided into 7. Their string, their number, their boolean rather. A number is just our normal number that we know. Our string are our alphabet. Our boolean are true or false. Our undefined are empty string. None are also empty string. Symbols, these are values that are unique and cannot be changed, and these are big int. Big int is was introduced in ES 2020, which are for large numbers. So I know we can if you're making use of all these manual calculators, you would have seen it over time that when you input some very large number, you will get to a point, you will just see it will just, when you're adding so many large number, it just return a value of e, which is error. But with the introduction of big int, you can now save very large numbers, and that is the problem the big int solves basically. So let's have an example of that. So we have object data type, object data type, object data type, and we have the primitive data type. Let's have primitive data type. So we have the string, which is what you have seen before. We have const name. So we have name. So we also have let's just use what we have here. Let me comment all this out so I don't. So let me comment all this out so I don't confuse myself. So because we are just starting out, so we do some commenting out so we don't. So I have const name, which is equals ln. This is a string. Const age equals 22. This is a number. So we have const can drive equals true, which is a boolean. We have const job equals undefined. So that's an undefined variable. Undefined. We have const state equals null. So this is a null variable. In null, you just have to write a null. But sometimes people actually interchange them one after the other. That a null can also be regarded as an empty string, like an undefined, basically. And you can actually make such mistake because a null also simply refers to as an empty variable in itself. A null. The next one we have is symbol. The next one we have is symbol. That's going to be something like this. Symbol that is symbol. Let me try to remember a symbol. Symbol is, let's just use symbol, which is let's just use this. These are symbols in JavaScript. So you will see along the line, we'll make use of this over time when we are working with something called when we are working with, I'm trying to remember, when we are working with something called template literal, you see something like that. So we have the big int const number, so which equals, we just have long random numbers, which is this, but you have to put the big int word in front of it, which is going to be big int, and you wrap it around it. So you can see with all this, we have actually defined all the kind of data type we have in JavaScript, and all this you would use in your day-to-day activities. So these are the data types we have in JavaScript, and we use them over and over and over and over again. So guys, please just give me a minute. I want to set up something. Yeah, I'm back. So that is what these are the primitive data types that you would use. And one thing I want you to know is that JavaScript has something called a backward compatibility. So if you're actually writing, if you're actually using the method of JavaScript that were used in uh, that were used in 1990, and you're writing it in 2025, there's something called backward compatibility, and it's also actually going to work. So the next thing we'll be looking at is, let's go back to the slide. We have a lot of things to cover right here. We would actually be looking at basic arithmetic. We'll be looking at basic arithmetic in JavaScript. We'll be using a basic arithmetic in JavaScript, which is the mathematical operation, the assignment operators, the logical operators, and comparison operators. So those are the things we'll be looking at now. So let's get into that. Sorry, just a minute. I'm having some kind of issues right here, but just a second, please. I'll fix it. Yeah, I'm so sorry, guys. So let's continue. So we'll be looking at arithmetic operations, basic operations in JavaScript, which includes the mathematical operations, the assignment operators, the logical operations, and all. So let's get into that. So let's have basic arithmetic operations, basic operators. So let's start with our normal plus, minus, division, and addition. So those are the basic ones. So we just have a const variable, which is going to be const now equals 20, 30, we have const now equals 2025. So we're in 2025. And the first thing we want to calculate is we want to calculate someone's age. So we have const age Allen equals now minus Allen was born in 1997. So when we do a console.log right here, console.log, and we have age Allen. You guys don't ask me how I know. I know Allen was born in 1997. So there's an error right here. So let me just comment this out. Let me comment this out basically. So let's comment this out. So Allen, okay. Allen said he was born in 1998. So at least I was correct. So we have Allen, we are trying to know Allen's age. So currently, Allen is actually 27 years old based on the calculation we simply did. And that's how we do normal calculation. 2025 minus 1998. So let's also do addition. So there is going to be an addition. We just have const we have const add equals now plus 25. So when we do console.log right here, so I'm just going to do this, and we see this, we will see that we have 2050. So that's how we do the basic arithmetic operators in JavaScript. So we can also do the exponential raised to power 2. We can do this. So let's do that. We do a console.log. We have, so most of you that will probably be working in fintech, you might actually have to do some of all these calculations, because I'm sure all the calculations that are done on your fintech application, the going out and coming in of money, are all simply done automatically. So you remove a particular amount of money, you deduct it, but I'm sure you'll not be using there are going to be some logics that will be written behind the scene that's going to be doing those manipulations here and there. So we have age Allen multiply by 2. So this is the multiplication sign, multiply by 2. So when we do that, so we know that Allen is going to be 54 years old if we multiply Allen's age by 2. So we can also do a division. So if you do Allen's age divided by 10, so let's divide it by 10 and let's see. Can see why is this not working? Line 54. Okay, you can see 2.7. If we divide Allen's age by 10, it is giving us 2.7. You can also do the calculation yourself to be sure that we are actually getting the right thing. So these are some of the basic arithmetic operations we can do: the addition, the subtraction, the multiplication, and the division. Those are some of the things we can do. So assignment operators in JavaScript. So we have assignment operators. We have let x equals 10, 10 plus 5. So this, we are doing some arithmetic. So this is going to give us 15. So let's also have, this is x plus equals 10. So this is it, x coming, why is this giving me an error? So we have x plus 10. So what we have right here is 10 plus 5, that is 15. So we now have x plus 10. What that simply means is that it's telling us x, what this simply means is x equals x plus 10 equals 25. So the answer for this is actually 25. So we are calculating based on our existing, figure. So we can do that. So we also have x multiplied by 4, x equals 4. Sorry, there's now have to be space there. That's 100. So when we do a console.log of x, that's going to give us 100, basically. That's 25. That's 25 multiplied by 4. That's going to give us 100. So as you can see, x multiplied by 4, that's 25 times 4 is going to give us 100. We'd also have something called, actually, there is actually mathematics. I won't lie to you. Some of you that ran away from mathematics class, there's actually mathematics in JavaScript. But the mathematics is not you doing the mathematics yourself. Just know what you want to do and just write the appropriate symbol, and it's actually going to work that way. So let's continue. So Joshua, this is a symbol that you actually ran away from your mathematics class. So who is saying art student? I was also an art student. Daniel, I was also an art student. So don't let us throw shit in the class. Let's continue. So we have this as arithmetic operators, and we also have, you might want to do something called you want to add a plus 1. You can do this. You can do x plus plus. Sorry, this is capital letter, just small letter. X plus plus. So if you do x plus plus, it's actually going to be x plus 1. So these are some x. Once you do x, so it's going to save you, and it's going to do x plus 1. That is 100. So we have 100 based on our existing calculation. We have 100. That's x plus 1. X plus 1. That is adding 1 to our 100. So, and you can also do that for minus. So if you also want to minus, you just do x minus minus. And once you see that, it's also going to give you 100. So it's going to minus the 1 from there. So I think we are done with arithmetic operations. So let's now go into assignment operators. Let's now go into comparison operators. What is comparison operators? Comparison operators are you checking which one is greater than each other. So that's what comparison operators are. So you're using the greater than and the less than sign. So those of you that don't know what's the difference between greater than or less than sign, this is also another avenue for you to go and start using your right and your left hand to be like, oh, which one is greater than, which one is less than. So you have to start doing it now. I still do it sometimes because it can get cloudy in your head that, oh, which one is greater than, which one is less than. So you just try to use your hand to be like, okay, this one is greater than, this one is less than. So let's continue. So we have we want to compare two people's age. So we have age of Allen right here, and let's also calculate const age. A lady in the class should give me not your real age actually. Cecilia, just give me any date of birth. So, or Francisca, anyone. I know those are the two ladies. I know there are more ladies, but those are the two people I can point out.
2002.
Huh?
2002.
2002. All right. So Cecilia is not born in 2002. She's just giving us a random age. So Joshua, I was asking for a lady. So Cecilia, age Cecilia I don't to a Cecilia. So that's going to be equals now minus 2002. So let's now do our comparison operator, which is so comparison operators. We now have const. Let's just, instead of writing a const, we can just do it directly. We just do console.log age Allen greater than age. For the comparison operator, it's actually going to return either true or false. It's not going to, that's what the comparison operator does. It simply returns something called true or false. That is what the comparison operator does. So let's check that. So we can see that, why is this? Let's refresh. So why didn't I save? Oh, I didn't save. Sorry. So you can see that based on our calculation, so let's do a console.log right here. Console.log age Allen, comma age Cecilia. So when we save that, you would see that based on what we have, Allen is 27 years old, while Cecilia is 23 years old. So based on the condition we checked for, we can see that Allen is older than Cecilia, basically. So that is one. So let's now also use our less than. So let's now see, is Allen less than is Allen is Cecilia older than Allen? So let's check. That's going to be a false. So you can see that Allen is 23 and Cecilia is 23 and Allen is 27. I know this might look actually extremely boring. JavaScript is somewhat boring. I'm not going to lie to you. When you're using it when you're learning about it isolatedly, it's actually boring. But when we just for you to just get a basic idea of it. So sometimes I just want to speed up this part and get into like a practical aspect where we are going to use things like this, which is like a DOM manipulation sort of. So let's continue. So let's now do this. So we now want to check if, let's now do this. Let's now put Cecilia's age at 1990. Let's now also make Cecilia 1998. We now do this. Age Allen greater or equals to Cecilia. So we are checking if Allen and Cecilia are of both age. You don't, there's not what's your name? Temitope, there is greater equal to, less equal to. There is not equal to directly. There is like greater equal to, there is less equal to. So this is simply what we have done here. We have done, okay, Allen's age, is it greater or equal to Cecilia's age? So that's going to be a true because both Cecilia and Allen are both 27. So let's now also reduce that again. So let's reduce Allen's age to 2002. And let's now do less than equal to. So we are now checking, okay, is Allen less in age than Cecilia? So this is also going to be a true. It's also going to be a true. So that is true. That means Allen is actually 23 years old, while Cecilia is 27 years old. So that is basically how we do something called comparison operators in JavaScript. So based on this, I want us to just run a simple calculation, and we are going to be calculating the BMI of someone. So we are going to be calculating the BMI of, we're just going to be running a BMI test. So I didn't write it, I have it written down. So we are going to be writing in my notes, We are going to be calculating the BMI for two people, which is Alan and Cecilia. So based on that, I wrote down in my notes, Alan and Cecilia, we are trying to compare their BMI, which is what is their body mass index. So how do you calculate the body mass? What is the formula for calculating body mass index? The formula for calculating body mass index is BMI equals mass divided by height. Mass, that is your weight, divided by height, raised to power 2. That's exponential 2 raised to power 2. So you have equals mass equals height divided by height. So you have that at the back of your mind. That is the formula to calculate. I'm not Godfrey. I'm not doing any matching in my class. This is for just practical and knowledge purposes. We are programmers. We only write code. We don't fall in love here. We don't fall in love. The only love of our life that we have is our system, basically. So you see that in front of your system 247. You don't have any other life aside that. So let's continue. Simple, Joshua, that is it. JavaScript is B. So let's continue. So we have, Joshua, Allen, what is your height? What is your mass? What do you weigh? Mass, Allen, what do you weigh? In kg. Be fast about that, Allen. What do you weigh? Let's just use 68. Let's just use 68 kg. Let's use 68 kg. This has to be in, let's just use 68. So you don't have to put the kg in front of it, 68. What about your height? Const height, Allen. Height, Allen. What is your height, Allen? Let's just use centimeter. 5.7. I want it in, okay, 5.7. That's fine. 5.7. So Cecilia, what's your weight? Const mass, Cecilia. That's what? Cecilia, okay, you weigh 63 kg, okay? 63. What about your height, Cecilia? What's your height, Cecilia? 5'9". Allen. So Cecilia is taller than you. 5'9". I didn't see anything, no. And then I don't know what you guys are doing in this chat box, but please let's focus. Well, you never can tell. Cecilia might like someone that is also, they are both of the same height. Cecilia might like someone that is shorter. Allen might like someone that is taller than him. I'm not seeing anything. Height Cecilia, which is 5.7, no, 5.9. So let's now calculate both of them's BMI. So let's now calculate BMI for Allen. Let's now calculate BMI for Allen. That is const BMI Allen. BMI Allen, that's equals mass Allen divided by height Allen raised to power exponential 2 raised to power 2. Then let's also do the same for, let's do a constant dot log right here. Let's do a const mass Cecilia mass Cecilia. BMI Cecilia rather. BMI Cecilia equals mass Cecilia divided by height Cecilia exponential 2. So let's say console.log right here. Console.log BMI Allen BMI Cecilia. So let's save and see what we have. So based on this, we can see that Allen is, the BMI for Allen is 2.09. This is not correct, actually. This isn't correct. This isn't correct. This isn't correct. This isn't correct. Oh, 5.9. Why did I not write 5.7? Thank you very much. Thank you. I just noticed that. So Cecilia is 5.9. Thank you very much. So as you can see, it's still, that means Cecilia Allen is 2.09, while Allen is 2.09, while Cecilia is 1.80. So let's now check. Let me use another approach for Cecilia. Instead of doing this, let's have let's put this in bracket. So we have height Cecilia. So for you to understand what we have as height exponential 2, that is height Cecilia also. So that's simply the calculation I did up there. So it's still 1.80. So let's now do our check. We now have const higher BM height. Higher BM height equals BMI Allen greater than BMI Cecilia. So according to what we know that BMI Allen has a greater BMI than Cecilia. Console.log higher BMI. So this is just going to throw a true or false value for us. So let's check that out. So we can see that Allen's BMI is greater than Cecilia's BMI. So that's about that. So let's now move forward. Let's now write it in a string format. That's okay. Let's now give it like a console.log that we have like a text to it instead of just having so let's do this. I want to write my name in full and all. So I'm not going to do this. I'm going to instead, let me try this. Const first name equals Akimbo Bola. Let me have const job equals solution engineer. I don't have a job here. That's why that is showing an error. I don't have a job here. That's why this is showing an error. So let's just comment this out. So let me just comment all this out. So const job const age equals 2000 minus 2025. So let's also have const. What can I also put there? What can I also put there? What do people want to know about me? What can I also, marital status? Okay. marital status. Marital status. That's single. You leave anything you see at your own risk. My football club. Yeah, well, football club, const football club. Well, for your information, I support the best team in the world currently. So if you don't like that, you can leave my class. And I don't want any Arsenal fan in my class. I don't want any Arsenal Man fan in my class. When you guys win the Club World Cup, you can come back to my class. But I know that's like in the next 4-5 years. So now let me now also log this. Let me now write this in a full statement. There's something called template literal. So if I'm to write this normally, I'm going to do a console.log. If I'm going to write this normally, it's going to take me like let me just do this. Let me just do this. Akin Bobola, Akin. Let me just do this, Akin. If I'm to write this normally without the help of um template literal, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to have this. I plus first name plus, you can see how that's going to be another string, a plus, I'm a solution, I am Akin Bobola, a solution engineer. I'm age, let me use age. I'm a 25-year-old solution engineer plus I am Akin Bobola, a 25-year-old. Let me put this year old plus job plus currently, let me put this, currently plus, that was going to be single, currently marital status plus, and I support the best team in the world, or the best team in the world, which is plus, and see how this can be. See how this can be extremely tedious to write. So I have to start. Let me now do console.log Akin. So let's save and see. So let's save and see what we have. So you can see that there are so many conjoining texts, and so let me now finalize this. Let me put a space right here. So there has to be like a lot of space, which there has to be like a lot of space, which is not helping matters at this point. And at some point, you can see this is not readable. You can see this is not readable at all. So what do I have to do? So with the help of template literal, I can just write this, which is going to be const Akin new, which is going to be equals I am sorry which is going to be I am I have to use something called a backtick. So for me to be able to use template literal, I have to use something called backtick. And a backtick is at the top of your the key below your the key below your the key below your escape key on your keyboard. That's what your backtick. That's what your backtick. That's the key of your backtick. I'm just going to do this. First name, the age, year old, job, currently sing marital status, and I support the best team in the world. So we have club. So if I do a console.log hacking new, we see that this is more readable than what we have previously. What am I having in minus 23? Oh, I'm doing something wrong here. It should be 2025. 2025 minus 2002 right here. So, you can see I am Akim Bobola, a 23-year-old software engineer. I'm a 23-year-old solution engineer, currently single, and I support the best team in the world. Which is more readable and which one is more easy to write? You can see that with the help of template literal, it is much more easier for us to write a long sentence than having to use the plus sign and the likes. That is what the template literal simply does for us. And going forward, that's what we'll be using. I can't start stressing myself, having to start using a plus sign, opening the quotation and closing it back again. That's it. So let's now go to the next thing. The next thing we'll be looking at is, sorry guys, are we understanding what I'm doing? Hope I'm not rushing it. Are we understanding? I need response.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is like the foundation to everything we'll be working with. So we just have to, but don't worry, we would we would still be we'll still be making reference to it every time. We'll still be making reference to it every time. We'll still be making reference to it. So it's not that we just it's just that we'll be making reference to it over and over and over again. Can we use let to do all these things or just cause? Well, it's based on personal preference because all these details are you can actually use let. You can actually use let because my name is only if I'm a female that my name is actually going to change. But you would see how you can still manipulate that over and over again. So you can actually use let. Mohammed, why are you annotating on my screen? So you can also use let, and that's it. So the next thing we'll be looking at is decision making in JavaScript. And what is decision making in JavaScript? Decision making in JavaScript is you writing a condition saying that okay, when this is a particular thing should happen. So let's try that out. Decision making in JavaScript. Taking decision, taking decision, taking decision. So decision making in JavaScript is simply you writing a condition that if you would, if you are of, if this starting condition is met, something should happen, and if the condition is not met, something else should happen. So let's do that. So I'm going to be writing a condition based on, okay, I'm going to do const, that is if else statement. Let me just write if slash else statement. We have const age equals 15. So I have okay, const age equals 15. So I'm going to be writing a condition that okay, if someone is if someone is above 18, greater or equals to 18, because I know we have people from outside Nigeria in the class, but officially the age that you can acquire a driver's license in Nigeria is actually 18 years old. I know some of you are not up to 18, have started driving. It's a crime. Don't allow federal road safety catch you. It's a fine. So I'm going to write a condition saying that if someone's age is less than, if someone is greater or equal to 15 to 18, the person can acquire a driver's license. And if the person is less than 15 years old, the person needs to have 18 years old. The person needs to have reached a certain number of a certain age before they can do this thing. They can acquire a driver's license. So this is simply it. So we have age. So you have your if and you have the parentheses that old equals 18 that holds your condition. If age greater or equals to 18, what do we have to do? Console.log, we have Allen can start can get a driver's license, and can also own a car. Else, that means if Allen is not up to 18, what do we have left? So we have to tell Allen, how many the amount of years left for him before he can acquire a driver's license and also get a car. So we have this. So we have else, we have const years left equals 18 minus age. So we will just do console.log Allen is too young to own a car and have a driver's license with another years left. Yes. So let's save and see which condition is actually going to be met. So age is assigned before accessing. Where are we having age is assigned before accessing? No, no. No, no. What's going on here? Oh, I know where this is coming from. So let's comment it out here. So as you can see again, we are seeing another scenario of whereby age, there is an error on line 93 and 95, 97, 96. That is why our other line of code is not working. But we'll get into a point of asynchronous programming, whereby even if something is not working, it can always skip to the next line and going to it's still going to work. It's still going to work automatically. So let's save and see what we have. So as you can see, Alan is too young to drive a car and to own a car and have a driver's license. Wait 3 more years. So if we now come here and upgrade Alan's age, let's say Alan is now 25 years old now. So you can now see that at this point, Alan can get a driver's license and own a car. That's how conditional statements are done in JavaScript. And also, I know there are so many kind of, so let's use, for example, you go on Bet Ninja site. Let's use some of those of you that are gamblers. You go on Bet Ninja site. If you try to register and you are less than 18, you will not be able to register on the platform, because according to the official age, someone has to be up to 18 years old before they can actually be able to gamble. So now, if you go to a Bet Ninja site and at the point of you entering your age, they are saying that you are less than 18 years old, they will simply do what? You will not be able to register your account. They are going to bounce you out of the system. And that is how it works. That is the basic way we write conditions. We write if-else statements with a JavaScript. And it goes a long way. And as you go further, you see you writing it in ternary operators and the like. So this is still the basics. Everything that we have learned so far is the basics of JavaScript. And we will move on, we'll keep growing and moving on from there. So do we understand? Do we understand what we have learned so far? It's something, if I give you a task now to just build like something minimal, I know I can't give you a task now on JavaScript, because if I have to give you a task on JavaScript now, I have to start downloading your source code and start checking, running it on my local system. But you just have to keep practicing and trying to understand what we are doing. So just try to understand it and just try to understand it, and you would see that you would get it. It's not something really hard. Based on what we have done so far, it's not really hard. It's just the basics of everything. And when we come alongside it, we'll really understand it better. So should we go on, or we should call it a day in today's class? Because I know I still want to go into, I'm actually going to go into functions.
Let's go.
So the next line of things the next thing we are going to be going into is functions. And yeah, after functions, we go into the next thing. So go into array and array methods. And all right, so well, I would want us to call it a day. Basically, I want us to call it a day, but just have at the back of your mind that for Wednesday's class, we will be having it to be a stretch class, basically, because we'll be going into two different things on Wednesday. We're going into something called DOM manipulation, and we'll be finishing up with the functions, with the basic of JavaScript, actually, which is functions and array method. Those are the things we'll be looking at. So thank you very much, guys, and We'll see in next class. Bye for now.
Don't